video is all about how to manage large class size. It seems like the talk of the town lately, ladies and gentlemen, in education. So I have 5 tips for you. Let's jump right into the video. Okay, so when dealing with large class size, from experience, this year I have had up to 28 students in my classroom. And within my almost 12 years of teaching, this is the second largest class size I have had. When I taught in Arizona, I had 29 first graders in a classroom. And now I teach in Washington State, and I'm currently down to 26 right now, I think. It changes a lot because we have students move in and out of our school. So I'll lose a couple and then I gain a couple more. However, I work at a school that has extreme behavior, kids that need constant emotional support, how to handle their behavior and their anger. And that's another video that I'll make eventually, but it's very hard when you have a large class size and then you have students that need constant support with their emotions and behavior, and I mean extreme behavior. So these tips come from me and what I've done to help manage large class size this year. So tip number 1, I use flexible seating within my classroom. I do not want to have 28 desks in my classroom. It just takes up too much space. So what I did this year, and you can see behind me, I'm in my classroom, you can see sit spots on the floor. Let me get up on the floor, and they're in rows. So the students do have an assigned sit spot for direct instruction. And when I'm not doing direct instruction, they get to sit in different areas around the classroom. I have tables. I have a high table over here. I have cushions here. I have a couch in the back. So they get to sit in different areas of the classroom. And I think that has definitely helped with the classroom environment. I tried to make it look like, like a home. I have lamps, I have lights, and I have a variety of different seats. So that would be tip number 1, flexible seating. I think it's definitely helped a lot with the big class size. Tip number 2, you have to have, just like with any classroom, you have to have routines, procedures, and transitions in place, and they have to be consistent. So from day 1, my students learned our morning routine. So for example, our morning routine is they walk in, they hang up their backpack, they hang up their jacket, and let's see if you can see it. Nope. Sorry, guys. Can't see it from here, but they hang up their jacket, their backpack, they sign up for lunch, they get a book, they sit wherever they want, and they silently read. That is a routine that they still do to this day, and you could hear a pin drop in here in the morning. An example of a procedure is they each have a mailbox for their math book and their reading book. And when it's time to get those books, I call the first row because they're on their sit spots. The first row lines up, they get their book, their pencil, they sit down, the next row goes. So that's an example of a procedure of how we get our work. The pencils, the markers, the dry erase boards are all in little mailboxes by their work. And if you haven't seen my classroom tour, I will put a card up here or over here, and you can check out my classroom. So, oh, something's on my screen. Oh, there we go. So those procedures have to be in place. Also transitioning, we are departmentalized. So to line up a class of 28 students and have another class of 28 students come in, it's a lot of work. And there is not a lot of room from my door to over here by my desk, which is right here. So they line up from the door to my desk in one line while the other class comes in. And we do it that way because I have so much space and my teacher partner uses desk. So they walk in and then the other class my class would walk out to her class. So she teaches ELA and I teach math and science. So those routines, procedures, and transitions have to be in place, and they have to be consistent every day. If they are not, they're just going to start talking just like they would in any class that had 20 students. So if they don't know what to do in the moment, it almost feels like chaos because they're third graders. They're, not little tiny kids. They're growing up, so they're bigger kids. It feels like so many people are in here, and if they don't know what to do within that minute, it's just chaos. So they have to know what their routine or transition is at that time. So that would be tip number 2. Tip number 3 regarding teaching, I do partner work, and I would say partner work, but I don't do a lot of group work. When I was teaching science this year, having that big group, I have to say, was extremely hard to manage in my experience because it was just so many people and it was so loud. And going from group to group to group in science, I just felt like the next group was just waiting for me, and then they would get off task, and it was just really hard. So in math, I've gone to partner work, and we do listen and compare a lot. So they have a person next to them, or they can get up, and I do this thing called stand up, hands up, partner up. So they get with a person, they stand and talk to them about their math strategies or whatever it may be, and then they go back to their sit spots. So I've gone from group work to partner work and like turn and talk, listen and compare work. The group work is just a little too much, but they still need that time to collaborate and talk to someone else. So the stand up, hands up, partner up gives them a chance to talk to someone else, not just the person that they're sitting next to. So that would be tip number 3, is to do partner work. Tip number 4, you definitely want to eliminate any downtime with a large class. I am talking even a minute. Have little games or activities or something you can do for a minute to 5 minutes if you finish a lesson early, or you end up with extra time, or your specialist is canceled, or the assembly was canceled that day and you had planned to go to it and you don't have any work prepared. So try to eliminate downtime with a large class because it's going to get loud and it's going to get chaotic. So definitely do your best to be prepared for any downtime that you may have. Let's see. And tip number 5 would be relationships. Of course, even though you have a big class, the most important thing that I think a teacher can do is to learn about each individual student. And it can be as simple as learning about the types of sports they like, or learning about their hobbies that they have after school. That's really important. Yes, it's harder, but we do something at our school called Community Circle, which is, similar to a morning meeting. We do it at the end of the day because that's just how our schedule works out, and it's for 15 minutes a day. And sometimes I have a question for them. Sometimes the kids come up with a question. Every other day we do an activity. Like today we sat in a big circle and we played hot potato, and it was just so fun, and they wanted me to play, so I sat in the circle while another student did the music. So having Community Circle and, just doing simple things like greeting your kids when they come in the morning, saying bye to them at the end of the day, having lunch bunch. There's so many ways that you can build those relationships even though you have a big class. All right, guys, so that is my 5 tips on how to manage big class size or large class size. And thank you so much for watching. Remember, God loves you. Your students love you. You're an awesome teacher. And I will talk to you next time on Time to Teach.